Hi all, Captain Mark here. Let's talk about getting your United States Coast Guard license, whether it's a six-pack or a master's. It all starts with figuring out what you want to do and what the requirements are. So, to find that, I'm using Google, use whatever search engine you want. Go to the Coast Guard's website for licensing, which is National Maritime Center, and I'm going to type NMC for National Maritime Center, and then USCG. Now, this is the website, National Maritime Center homepage for the Coast Guard's licensing group or branch. All right, let's take a look. When I go here, there's all kinds of information and you can get overwhelmed with it. Right here in the center, look at that, charter boat captain. That covers most of us. So let's click that. It's got some general information, some forms, how to calculate your sea service requirements, and everything else. Let's take a look at the six-pack. That's a national operator of an uninspected passenger vessel of less than 100 gross tons. I'm going to click that, and that's going to take me to the checklist. These are the things that you need to do and submit to the Coast Guard in order to get your license. So, looking at the top, you got to be a U.S. citizen, or you have to be here with a green card. You can work here legally. You have to be at least 18. You have to have a medical certificate, which means you need a physical on a Coast Guard approved form. We're going to look at that in a second. You have to complete a drug test or be testing compliant. You have to pay your fees. That'll be, currently it's $145. That's paid through a website I'll show you in a minute. You have to meet your sea service requirements. For a near coastal license, you need 360 days on the water, of which 90 of those days need to be on the ocean. Near coastal, which means within or outside of a certain set of boundaries we'll talk about, or on the Great Lakes. Otherwise, you're going to get an inland license. All of these, inland, Great Lakes, or near coastal, require 360 days of sea time. Probably the biggest problem mariners have is not submitting enough time. Repeat after me, 360. I know it's a joke, but it's important. In addition to that, you need to have a current first aid and CPR card form certificate completed within the last year, and it has to be approved by the Coast Guard. Ask yourself, did I physically go somewhere and conduct CPR? If you didn't, it's probably not an approved course. Don't listen to the sea lawyers. Make sure you physically do it. Finally, look at this. You have to pass either a series of exams, 4 of them, or you have to do a course in lieu of a Coast Guard exam. Basically, you take a class like we offer, very good one obviously, and at the end of the course, there are 4 exams that the Coast Guard has approved for you to take in lieu of their test. Okay, so this is the checklist. This should go at the front of your application. And you need to make sure that you have all of these things. Now, let's go back and take a look at some of the other requirements. So, we already know from the checklist we're going to need some forms. We're going to have to look at the application process. So let's take a look at the step-by-step application process. Here it is. It'll walk you through it. You're going to need a TWIC. You're going to submit your application. You're going to submit it to the Regional Exam Center. They're going to look at it, they're going to print it, and they're going to mail it to you. Now, depending on what you're doing, original license, a renewal, raise and grade means to take your license to a larger level, modification, a duplicate, continuity, which means to put it on hold, or STCW, which is an international requirement. Most of you won't be doing that. This little process right here, step by step, starting with that checklist, takes you through the process. Okay, TWIC card, step 2. Here's my TWIC card. Click that, and that will take you to the TSA's website. where you're going to have to go to apply for your TWIC card, right there. Woo, wasn't that easy? Do I want to leave? Yeah, let's leave. And here's what I go through the process for your Transportation Worker ID credential, or TWIC card. Just fill it out. It'll tell you what to do step by step. So let's go back to where we were in the, I'm going to say no, in the Coast Guard's website. I'm going to back out of TWIC. No, I don't want to leave. Charter boat. Application process. All right, so now we've talked about the TWIC card. Let's step on out to step 3. That's the application for your license right here. This is the form, step by step. You need to make sure it is the current form. So this one says expires 3/31/21. Today is Valentine's Day 2023. They just haven't updated their form. I'm sure they'll get it. If you're using this form, you're good to go, but make sure it says that because there's some older ones out there. This is pretty obvious, and this is fillable. Look, I click my name, Woods, and it never goes in order. I'm sure it does for somebody, but it never does for me. Arc, middle, so on and so forth. This is pretty straightforward. Put in your social security number. If you have already gotten a license or they've started the process for you, they're going to give you a code. It's like, mine's like 486613. I don't know, that's not really my number, but it's something I made up. It'll be something like that. It'll say reference number. And then your citizenship is going to be U.S. Place of birth, wherever you were born. If you were born in Puerto Rico, write Puerto Rico. You're a U.S. citizen. If you were born in Mexico, but you're a U.S. citizen, write U.S. If you're a citizen of another country, but you're allowed to work here legally, then whatever country, say Venezuela, then you write Venezuela, where you were born. We're going to talk about what to do if you're a resident alien as long as you're approved to work here. The rest of it's obvious. Where were you born, the state, the country, color of your eyes, your hair. This is your home address. It has to be a physical address. Now, you can have your stuff sent to a P.O. box, but your physical address is where we can physically find you. If nothing else, use your family's home. Okay, now, for those of us that are applying the first time, it's an original. And then you write, here on the bottom, OUPV. NC means near coastal, or inland, or oceans, whatever it is. If you're applying for a master, it would be master. And then your tonnage, 25 GT for gross tons. And then is it going to be inland, near coastal, or oceans? Probably most of my folks will be NC, or near coastal. That'll be an original license. If you did an OUPV class and a 6-pack, or a master's upgrade, then you're going to say raise of grade, and you're going to say what you did, which was OUPV with master 25 gross ton upgrade. That's all there is to it. If you're a renewal, whatever's on your license, let's turn these off, it'll say renewal, and then write what's on your license. Okay, the next page, TWIC card. This is only for a renewal, so if you're a renewal and you don't want to get your TWIC card, that's fine, as long as your license is less than 100 tons, you don't go into a secure port, and you don't go into foreign ports. Otherwise, you got to have a TWIC card. If you're a renewal and you don't feel that you need a TWIC card, you can click this. I would not recommend it unless you know for a fact that you're not going into a secure port. Okay, criminal record. This is a yes or no. If you're not sure, mark yes and explain, because right here, they're going to be required to pull the National Driving Registry. So if there is a blemish on your record, it's going to appear. It does not mean it's the end of the world. It simply means that they're going to see it and they want you to fess up for anything you did. You know, I egged the neighbor's house when I was a kid, you know, those things. But seriously, if there's something that would appear on your registry, make sure you tell them about it. That way, it isn't an issue down the road. Mariner's consent. Do I consent to voluntary participation in the Mariner outreach system? That's up to you. That just means, are you available? Yes or no? And this is for continuity. This is renewal. If you're not going to renew, hold a license, but you want to keep your license, you're not going to actively use it, then you can mark consent for continuity. Then, this block right here says that you're certifying a couple things, that you solemnly affirm that I will be faithful and honest and according to the best of my skills and judgment and without concealment or reservation perform all the duties required of me by law in the United States. I faithfully and honestly carry out the lawful orders of my superior offices aboard a vessel. This is your oath of office. You read this, sign it, and date it in front of a notary. Person authorized to administer the oath is a notary. It's going to have a notary's stamp affixed to it right here with the date and when their license expires. Here's a big thing. People miss this all the time. See this right here, this little block? Please make sure you fill this out. So this is me, and it's not a fillable, but that needs to say Mark Woods. Otherwise, there's a possibility it could get lost. They are going to print it to review. This last page here is if you're having somebody like myself or Kim help you with your license and act in your behalf, this page is going to get filled out. It's only used if you have a third party, somebody helping you with your license. Okay, that's the application. Now I'm going to go back. That's that step. My next step, the convictions form. If you check yes to anything there on page 4, simply put your name and your information, your social reference if you have it, your birthday. This is all you. Was it a dangerous drug? What year? What were other, so that's a drug violation. If there was another conviction, what was it? Remember, it says within the last 10 years. If you're not sure, maybe it's a little past, put it in anyhow, because it's going to appear and it's going to cause your license to stall out, and you're going to have to explain it. So you're better off to explain. And that's all there is to the 719C convictions form. Now let's take a look at the next form. Next on my list is the medical form. This is filled out by, first of all, it starts with instructions. It's a 10-page form. Every page goes to the Coast Guard, 10 pages. There's a spot for your doctor's initial and the date. You to print your name and your birthday on every page. Make sure it's there. Most of this is done by the doc. However, in the initial phase, this is you. You know your last name, your first name, your middle. Fill it out. If you're not sure, look at your driver's license. Or for me, I ask my wife, what's my information again? I'm kidding. Or, whatever. But please, 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 make sure you fill that out, all this, before you go to the doctor. That way, the doctor is just dealing with doing your evaluation. If you're taking medicine or you've had any of these conditions, make sure that you've written what's going on in there. And, of course, the doctor will look at it. Now, this form, for the most part, is taken care of by your physician, and they know what to do. At the end of it, this block is very important. Medical practitioner, it's got their name, their information, their license number, the state, phone number, and all that. This goes with your application, 10 pages. Make sure they're filled out. Okay, so let's go back to our application process here. We're right back at the NMC page, applying for my original. I've done that. Third-party releases, there's signatures on those. Directions are right on each page. We just looked at that. Drug testing. If you're using the Coast Guard's periodic test form, come here. You should belong to a drug consortium. That is a voluntary group of mariners who are tested on a routine basis, at least 50% of us. This is the form. If you belong to a consortium already, the consortium will have their own form for you. Simply contact them. If you don't, you're going to need to go to an approved lab that has a medical review officer to test you. It's a 5-panel drug screen. It is a urine test. Okay? Once that's filled out, it's signed by a licensed, approved medical review officer. Next up, look at this, pay.gov. This is how you pay for your license. So let's take a look at this. Okay, going into my form. I'm going to fill it in. I'm going to cheat and let the system do it. Okay, that's me. Company name, if you have one. Your social security number. Mine is 000000000. Then, I think I probably have one too many in there. Where am I sending my license? Okay. If you live in Miami area, Key West, you're supposed to send it to Key West. Or Key West, I'm sorry, Miami. Let's be honest. Miami processes a lot. Regional exam center you want to go to. If you're supposed to select the one that's closest to you, but let's be honest. For those of us that live in the Keys and Miami, they process a lot of licenses. A lot of times, they're overwhelmed. I think they do a good job. Tell them I said that. I think they do a good job for as heavily loaded as they are. Look at these options. I will be honest with you. The folks in Charleston are probably going to hate me. I like Charleston a lot for sending license applications because they're pretty darn efficient, and I don't think they're as heavily loaded, or they might be, and it might be my fault. Recently, we had some friends go to Toledo, Ohio, sending their paperwork, and I got to tell you, the process sounded like they did a spectacular job, very efficient. I have used New York before. I love the folks at Boston. They always send you an email. They're very on top of things. But again, all the regional exam centers I know or that I've dealt with have been great. I've even used Alaska. Middle of the winter, thinking Alaska might be a good deal. So think of that. Where am I going to send it? So I'm going to pick Anchorage because Mark said it's wintertime and it would probably be a good idea. You can kick my butt later for that. Okay, and now the fees. How much do I have to pay? Your category. This is called, you're applying for a license, a merchant mariner credential. The first time or renewals, it's referred to as an officer endorsement. So you can do officer endorsement and rating endorsements. Most of us don't have ratings, but if you did, that would be it. Clicking that is not a bad move. So I'll click that. The type of endorsement. In this case, am I renewing my license? Is it an original? If it's your first license, it's an original. Am I taking my license up? Then that's a raise of grade. Is it a renewal? Each of these is a little different and a different rate. So I'm just going to assume this is my first license. So I'm going to say original. All right. Now, this is how we figure out how much you pay. Original endorsement's $100. A raise in grade is $100. A renewal and a raise in grade is $100. A rating is $100. Well, it looks like I'm probably stuck with $100. So, $100. Now, testing fees. If you are testing with the Coast Guard, you're going to pay them. If you're taking a course in lieu, then you don't have to pay because that fee is covered at your school. And then finally, issuance fees. The issuance fee is $45. This is what you pay them. So, all my information is right here. Click continue. You're going to pay it with a bank account or a credit card. I'm going to pay with my credit card. Here we go. So you put in your name, and I'm not going to fill any of the rest in because don't need to know my credit card stuff. But everything I'm applying for is right here. Now, you're going to click through at the end of this. Here's the key. At the end of this, when you submit, review, and when you review and submit, it's going to give you a place to put your email address. Where do you want this sent? Make sure, if I'm helping you with paperwork, send me a copy, but make sure it goes to you. It is a receipt that says you paid for this. If you lose it, I have no idea how we recover it. It is the toughest. Just make sure you get a copy of the receipt. If nothing else, print the screen when you're done. Okay, so I'm going to close that. Now, see service form. Here's the kicker. This causes more problems. If you own your boat, you may use your vessel. You must have proof that you own her, your registration paperwork, your document paperwork. In the past, I always said insurance paperwork. But if the insurance doesn't have the vessel's registration numbers or document numbers, it won't help you. You need to have official registration numbers. Okay, so let's look at the form. Pretty simple. Woods. L. Mark. I hate the way it progresses through. Again, if you know a reference number, 11234. If you don't, then you're going to fill out your social. 000-00-1234. The vessel name. Big Boy. B-O-Y. Official numbers. Minnesota. M-N. I don't know if that's Minnesota or not. 3232. 23424. Wow. And then whatever else they put on it. That's what's written on the side of your boat. If it's documented vessel, it'll say something like D0 document, and it'll give you a bunch of numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That comes off your document. Your vessel's gross tons. If you don't know, if it's a small boat, something you throw on the trailer, a 21-footer, write 1 ton. It's about a ton. If it's a larger vessel that's documented, look at the document. It'll say what her tonnage is. If not, those of you that took a master's course, there's in the lesson on hull construction, we did an exercise for calculating tonnage. It's in there. So I'm going to say the Big Boy is 25 tons. Okay, so this is her length, her overall length. She's a 42 foot, 0 inch. Her width is, so this is the widest part. This is her beam. Let's see, 42 feet. A good beam would be 14.1. Depth. This is from the bottom of the bilge to the sealed deck. So I'm going to say 7 feet. This is the floatable space. Remember, that's tonnage. And 0 inches. Propulsion. How does she go through the water? Sail, motor. I don't think there's steam out there. Gas turbine. So I'm going to write motor. Mine is a diesel. S-E-L. And then write your tonnage in there, or your horsepower, HP. HP, wow, I need to redo my fingers, huh? Now, if the boat is recreational, you can be the master, mate, operator, owner, deckhand, whatever. If she's inspected, in order to be the master, you must be licensed. In order to be the mate on an inspected vessel, she must be licensed. The boat has to be inspected, has a COI. If she has that, you can't be the master mate. If it's an uninspected vessel, just a recreational vessel, then you can say master / operator, whatever you want to say. Bodies of water. Don't write Little Penobscot Sound because they will not know where that's at and they're not going to look it up. Write something big like Atlantic. Wow, Mark. Right? Atlantic. Boy, I cannot spell today to save my soul. Now, here's the hard part. And again, don't write Little by God River because they're not going to where that's at. Say inland waters. Say Lake Erie. Say, Atlantic Ocean near New Jersey. Give them a large body of water that they can recognize. Now, your record of sea service. To prove that you are current, you have to have 90 days of sea time in the last 3 years. So make sure you have at least 90 days. And the way we attest to our own time is in 2023, I was on the big boy for 5 days. It's that easy. You're going to pull that from your log or however, but that's all you're writing. In February, well, I'm only on the 14th, so I couldn't have done too many. So 2023, let's say 3 days. Whoops. 3 days. And this continues on. In 2022, how many days in January? Well, I didn't do any. It was rough weather. 2022, February, I was on board 7 days. So look at your log, take a look at it, however you keep track of your time at sea, and write that down. That's all there is to this form. At the end of it, the number of days, add up all these days. Right now I have what? A grand total of 7, 10, 15 days. So number of days on this vessel, 15. Average hours. A day is considered 4 hours recreationally. I believe it's 8. I have to look at the latest and greatest. Generally, I tell people, look at the average day. Most of us spend quite a bit of time. I'm going to say an average of 6 hours a day. I would not recommend less than 4. Distance offshore. If you're on an inland water, you aren't offshore. Or you can just say, you're on Lake Winnipesaukee, maybe you got a half a mile offshore. If you're on the ocean, well, how far out did you go? In general, not for rules of the road, but in general, when we're talking about getting your license, the instruction here, CFR 46 subpart 7, in general, that line that they're discussing is about 3 miles offshore. It changes, and you have to go to the CFR to look, but in general, that's at 3 miles. So if you're inside of 3 miles, all of this time will apply toward an inland license. If you're outside of 3 miles, then it may apply to a near coastal. Here in the Keys, that line of demarc is all the way out to the reef line where Sand Key Light, American Shoal, going up to Miami. I believe that's 3 miles off of South Beach. So you need to take a look carefully when you're applying for your license, and don't undersell this. If you make this inside this line listed, then you're going to get an inland license, which in the Florida Keys is useless. So I'm going to say 7 because I go outside Sand Key Reef all the time. Number of days on the Great Lakes, well, I haven't been there, so 0. Shoreward, again, inside this regulation, then you would write that. But again, remember that applies for a shoreward license. I was outside of that, so I'm going to say all of my days were 15. Make sure that your distance offshore matches this requirement. Now, the back of this is signed by me and dated. This is me, I'm the applicant, and I write today's date or whatever date I fill this out. If somebody else is signing for your sea time, you were on your buddy's boat, then they're going to sign date and put their information. This is important. If you own the boat, you sign this right here for applicant and date, and you must include your documentation, proof that you owned the boat. If it's in a corporate name, send the first page of your corporate letter that shows you as a member of the corporation. Okay, so that's the sea service form. Course certificates and assessments, you get this from the school, otherwise you test with the center. All of this gets submitted to the Regional Exam Center. Do not send it in. Email it. You can scan it, turn it into a PDF. They will not take anything but PDFs. Make sure you keep it, I believe it's below 15 right now, and send it to the Regional Exam Center. These are the exam centers that you will see. Now, going back to where I was, you can expedite it for mailing. I do not recommend that. Some regional exam, my understanding, I don't know this for fact, my understanding is some regional exam centers will not take mail. Now, if you're renewing, here's the renewal tab. It's nothing more than following, just like we just did. So, that's how you apply for your license. Very simple. You will have questions. Let's talk about some of the things that people get wrong or miss. We're going to go back to our checklist. Let's see. Start a checklist. I'm going to go to checklist. Let's say I am applying for master near coastal. Make sure that you meet all these requirements. Now you'll see that this is a master's certificate or a master's course that I'm going for. Make sure that you have completed all of these requirements. The tonnage calculation, what am I requesting for your master's right here? Am I at a sailing endorsement? The requirements are here. The exam requirements are here. So make sure. So what's the problem? A lot of times people will submit an application without having a current drug screen on a 719P or an appropriate letter from their consortium. One of the other problems that happens routinely is the sea service. Right here, 90 days in the last 3 years. People fail to read that and don't realize they're going to count 3 years back from your application date. If you don't have 90 days, sorry, it'll be an incomplete application and they'll kick it back. For the master, you must have 720 days on board a vessel in the deck department for an oceans near coastal or Great Lakes license, of which you can do some portion of that, up to 360 days, on inland waters. Here's the deal. If you're submitting less than 720 days, they're going to reject your application, tell you it's incomplete. You will get a short period of time to correct that. If you don't correct it, they're going to reject it, and you're going to start over again, and you're going to pay the fees. So save yourself a headache. Read the directions. Make sure you follow it through. If you're not sure, give me a call. My students, you guys all have my number and my email. And, I probably won't get back to you until the end of the day, but give me a call. I'll explain anything you're not sure of. Okay, so that's all there is to it. Let's say, until we meet again, my friends.